welcome to the TMC Newsroom. Thanks for watching us today. My name is Rich Tehrani, coming to you from IT Expo West 2010 in the Los Angeles Convention Center. On our program today is Christian Goffi. He is the Managing Principal at AVAYA Professional Services. Hello, Christian.
Hello, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. So it's been an interesting event. We've got to hear multiple speakers talk about the AVAYA Flair experience Sunday night. Yesterday, for a lunch keynote, Phil at home spoke about the Flair experience, and a lot of exciting things going on.
Absolutely. It's really a great time to work at AVAYA. We've had, just in 2010 alone, roughly about 50 product and service introductions, which is very exciting. And it's really living true to our promise of being fit for purpose. And what that means to me is really a twofold answer to that, fit for purpose statement. On one side is having a true understanding of what it means to be business centric, and at the heart of that business centricity, having the needs of the user at the forefront of what we do. And secondly, not losing sight of what makes sense from an IT organization. What makes financial sense. What is feasible for the IT director to pursue, and with these releases, we're holding true to that promise. AVAYA Flair is what I love about our releases is how it's very easy to see the roadmap that we're going on and how it affects how we're trying to shift the way that we communicate for our customers. If you recall, about a year ago, came out with AVAYA Aura. Sure. AVAYA Aura was about breaking down those silos of communication. I mean, we knew that unified communications brought a great promise, but it brought with it some challenges, which was how do we cut through these silos of communications? And I believe that Aura was a lot about that. But now we feel like we're ready to go to the next step, and the AVAYA Flair experience is the centerpiece for that, which is bringing these pieces together, which is the result of breaking down these silos, and bringing them to the user. So it's an endpoint strategy where now we're taking an infrastructure enhancement and improvement and bringing the values all the way to the user. So making that experience unified and bringing context into the experience, including video, IM, whichever modality of communication that we're pushing to the user. So it's a great time to be at AVAYA.
Well, there's so much innovation going on. The question I'm sure many of the viewers are asking is, where does a professional services organization fit in?
Professional services is key in all of this, and what we aim to do is answer 4 basic questions. Number one is, help me identify a strategic roadmap for my company. What makes sense for me? I've seen your products, they look great, they make sense, but can you put it into context for me? Number two is, can you help me find funding for this? How can we put this in a context where it's a little bit easier for me to gain, budgetary support from my board? Thirdly is, can you help me design some alternatives? Each product brings different features. Which one is best for me and my needs? And lastly, can you help me adopt it? At the end of the day, a lot of the new technology projects that we take on have to carry with them a business sense. And the business sense is synonymous with financial sense. So help me measure this. And then in the end, if my users don't adopt what I'm bringing to the table, it's not going to realize the potential that was highlighted in the business case. So that's pretty much the full end-to-end life cycle that from a professional services perspective. We aim to be engaged much earlier in the process, and by doing so, we're giving our customers a much greater chance of success when it comes to technology rollout.
Now, how long have you been dealing with just the professional services side of the business?
Professional services, this isn't anything new.
Oh, for you personally?
Oh, me personally, about 10 years.
Oh, so you've probably seen a lot of mistakes that people have made.
Absolutely.
Could you share some of those?
Sure, and especially as it comes to unified communications. When the whole concept of UC came out, it was really up to anyone to make up their own mind as to what it meant for them. But what I have personally found to be one of the primary, mistakes that companies make is, number one, they make it much more about infrastructure than they do about user benefits. So when you look at IT planning, it's really centralized around what do I have in my infrastructure and how do I upgrade that to the next level. How do I take that, that sexy product that I just saw and bring it to my users? It's almost following that concept of if you build it, they will come. And when you talk about unified communications, it has a lot to do with the user experience. And you cannot overlook how important it is to gain a decent level of adoption of that technology. Prime example of that being video. I mean, in video, I've run into many customer situations where a customer has spent a considerable amount of capital in getting these endpoints and telepresence and special rooms for video that were meant to realize cost savings in travel and downtime, etc. But in the end, there's a cultural element that was overlooked, which was, do people feel comfortable using this technology? Do they feel entitled to use this technology? So in the end, what happens? You have all this capital spent on technology that just sits there and doesn't get used, doesn't get leveraged. And given that we didn't have a true key performance indicator that measured success of that, it just falls to the wayside, and it's an unsuccessful project.
So this is okay. This is a really good point. How do you ensure that that technology is going to get used, or is going to benefit the organization and have a return on investment? Because, I mean, obviously a vendor is going to help you with their return on investment numbers. They're going to say, oh, you're getting an ROI in 6 months or a year and a half, and this is what we've seen in the market. But how do you ensure that? Or at least how do you ensure a higher likelihood of success?
Well, that's a great question. And the user, when we say, many vendors talk about being user-centric, we live by those words. And what it means is, don't take an infrastructure approach to your decision making. Don't take a product approach to your decision making. Really take the time to understand your users. Get into the minds and understanding the user segments within your company. What business processes do they follow? What challenges do they face? And then, go backwards away from that in order to find technologies, processes, and systems that meet those needs, not the other way around. So going back to the initial mistakes that we talked about is, taking too much of a technology focus and just assuming that technology will just get adopted was one of the primary concerns that we saw.
Now, for CIOs and other high-level decision makers watching, what are some of the things that they should be aware of, other than what we've discussed going forward, about just the future? I mean, what information can you share with us? Well,
technology has evolved in such a way that at this point there is what we see as low-hanging fruit. I mean, there are, what you don't know can hurt you, is a primary message to a CIO who might be listening. Take the time, take a consultancy approach, perhaps hire a third party or look internally. Look at the benefits a SIP can bring to you, for example. This is a primary example of a shift within your infrastructure, not necessarily a product itself, but a concept, moving into a SIP infrastructure. Look into your provider from a SIP trunking perspective can bring you the significant savings that can basically catapult the rest of your product roadmap.
Right.
So primary message being, what you don't know can hurt you. So take the time to analyze what is the low-hanging fruit that's out there, and leverage that to be the catalyst for the rest of your product roadmap. And obviously, engage in the support from companies such as AVAYA, who, we do about 1,000 projects a month. So the biggest value that we bring to a customer is that benchmarking, that best practices.
Right.
That a customer such as you in the same vertical has tried this and it worked in this such a way. So we bring that experience, and that's one of the biggest value adds that we bring to the table. So take a look at the low-hanging fruit and plan with the user's needs first.
Thanks for being on the program, Christian. It's great. Great to meet you.
Thank you, Rich.